Hello and welcome to Gooner Gathering. My name is Bertie Wanless, the poshest man in sports entertainment, as my now co-host for this episode apparently today likes to call me. And as you can tell, yes, for whatever reason, Lee has put me in charge of this video because this was kind of my idea, but the topic of this particular tier list was this man's idea here. We're doing a tier list of Arsenal, some Arsenal goalkeepers from past and present. And joining me to conjure up all of this is now my co-host, Mr. Gooner Lee Meads. Mr. Meadows, how are you down there?
I am fantastic down here. It's a weird position for me to be down here, to be fair. But
Mm,
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this. This actually makes us official YouTubers.
exactly. You know, you got to get with got to be down with the kids, haven't we?
Obviously, whatever
Lit,
that means.
whatever. Right. So we're doing, as I said before, as I just said, we're doing a tier list of Arsenal goalkeepers. Obviously, this is not every single Arsenal goalkeeper in living memory because we'd be here for about 5 years. And also, this list is not to be taken seriously. This is not an official tier list. This is just two blokes doing a bit of a ranking list because why not?
Why not?
It's a good thing to do. So it's not to be taken seriously. If you want to, if you take these kind of videos seriously, this probably isn't for you because we don't know much about the likes of Frank Moss, but we included him in there because he's in a list, and he is not related to Riddick Moss as well. So
There it is, everyone. There it is. There's the wrestling reference.
I just came up with that. But I think we shouldn't dither and delay. Let's
Let's
get
do
on
it.
with this list. So first up, I don't know if you can see me moving him around.
Just about. Just
Okay,
about.
that's fine. As long as it's working-ish, then it's good. Oh, I should tell you, we've got
Yeah.
our categories. We've got the Invincibles, which is obviously the best category we can put our said goalkeeper in. Champions League spot, so not the absolute best, but still pretty good and pretty decent nonetheless. Mid-table, so thumbs in the middle, 50-50, the meh category, if you will. Bit naff, so, not good, but at the same time, not very, very bad. Just a bit naff, in it. And of course, we've got Sebastian Squillaci, the worst section in the tier list. Yes, I know Sebastian Squillaci is not a goalkeeper, but let's be honest, he wasn't really a defender either. So let's begin. Our first up is a goalkeeper that I think we're both familiar with in Wojciech Szczesny.
Mm-hmm.
One and only. So we I mean, I thought that Szczesny was quite a decent goalkeeper when I saw him. What did you make of him?
I always liked Chesney, mate. I really did. He was always a solid goalkeeper. Um, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, it rather ended rather sourly for me. I do recall a bit of an incident in the changing room, if I recall, at Southampton. But for longevity at the club, he was there quite a long time, wasn't he?
He was, and I should mention he actually had a bit of I think he had a bit of a spell out at Brentford at the start of his career at Arsenal in like
That's right.
2008, 2009.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But he went on in 2011 to become our first choice goalkeeper. And as far as keepers go, I think he actually wasn't that bad. I would go as far to say I'd put him in the Champions League spot category. What say you?
Yeah, I'd go with that. He's 132 appearances for the club, 2 FA Cups. Do you know he also, in his accolades, has got a joint Golden Glove winner. This is
Okay.
2013 2014 season. Would you like to hazard a guess who the other goalkeeper was he won that prize with?
Could it be another goalkeeper that's on this list?
Yes, sir.
Ah, Mr. Petr Cech when he was at Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good.
Mm,
10 out of 10, sir. I am impressed with your knowledge.
of
So,
course.
yeah, I think Champions League spot. I think that's fair for Chesney. You know,
Okay.
not just with
Yeah.
Arsenal. He's had a great career over. You know, but when he left Arsenal, I think eventually played for Juventus.
Mm.
Uh,
Still
playing
plays
along,
for Juventus now, and he had a very decent World Cup with Poland a
did
few months ago.
he was absolutely excellent. So yeah,
Saved Messi's penalty against them.
absolutely, absolutely. So fair play to him. He's
Mm.
you know, he's carrying on his career, and replaced Buffon, hasn't he, over in goal at Juve?
Yeah,
That's no
which is
mean
big
feat.
shoes to
So
fill.
absolutely, absolutely, absolute legend of the game. So yeah, well, fair play to him.
Okay, next up, this is more your era, and it's one that actually you requested for me
Mm,
to put in this list. It's the late Alan Miller,
mm.
who was a backup to David Seaman, who we'll get to in a minute, in the 90s, and he was the first substitute goalkeeper that we did. I think you might have to elaborate a bit more on him, Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. So from Miller was at Arsenal from 1988 to 1994. He only had 9 appearances for the club, but as Posh just mentioned a moment ago, he was the first Arsenal goalkeeper to come on as substitute, and this was away. This was at Ellen Road, Leeds. Is there anything else I've got? Um, yeah, he went on to play another 8 games for the club after his debut. Um, I thought it would be rather fitting, actually, um, for someone. I mean, obviously, figures like they're making a first goalkeeper to come on a sub. That
Hmm.
that's historic.
Hmm.
Um, he was also a vital
I
part. If I just could just continue just
Yeah,
for a second, um,
no worries.
in the season when Arsenal won the European Cup Winners' Cup, that was 1994. This is when I started watching Arsenal. Now, just prior to the cup final itself, Dave Seaman had injured his ribs quite badly. Miller was playing a couple of games prior to the game
Mm,
against Parma. I would say he was a vital member of the squad. He at least was he was on the bench in Copenhagen, the big night for the Arsenal winning the European trophy against Parma. But yeah, I thought it was nice to give him a little mention, mate.
yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, it's worth it's good paying respects to him, and obviously he does hold a special place in your heart.
Hmm.
With only 9 appearances, however, and compared to some of the other goalkeepers on this list, I would put him in the mid-table position. What do you think?
I think mid-table's fair. Yeah,
Mm,
he was at the club for a fairly long time. Um, I think he went on to play for Middlesbrough, if I recall. He managed to play some first team games over there. He was an England under 21 international as well, if I recall.
okay.
Although my brain's a little bit sketchy on that one.
Mm.
Mid table, yeah, I think that's about right. I think we've probably seen a lot worse actually between the sticks at Arsenal, and I would feel a bit bad going any lower than that.
Mm.
Excuse me as my phone moved as I just got a Twitter notification. Sorry
That's
about that.
okay. Let's not forget at the end we can always alter
Yeah,
this at the end, and if we see something that we might not agree on at the end of it, we can always discuss changing it. But anyway, now
it's
next up,
just a bit of fun.
yeah, it's a bit of fun. It is.
It
Don't
is.
take this. Why would anyone take us seriously when we do it? Because we
I,
don't take ourselves seriously sometimes.
I'm a professional
Um,
broadcast journalist, mate. I don't know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Next up, now this is where we've had to do all of the research, research. It's Jack Kelsey, who played for Arsenal. This was I didn't. It was in the 1940s, wasn't it?
I can help you there, mate.
Okay.
Between 49 to 1963, you know what, guys? This is even before I was born. So,
I know, it's crazy.
I know. One of Wales's greatest goalkeepers.
Yes,
I understand.
yes. The reason why I put him in this list was because when I was doing my research, he was in a list called the 5 best Arsenal goalkeepers, along with someone else who we'll get to in a minute.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought, well, 5 best goalkeepers. I gotta put him in there. Really, he made his first team debut in 1951 against Charlton Athletic. They lost 5-2, however, but he did go on to become our first choice goalkeeper for 8 years, and apparently he was one of the first keepers to rush out of a penalty box to halt opponents. So he is to blame for me having my heart in my mouth whenever Ramsdale goes out of his goal against the. But no,
Okay.
I mean, as someone tries and calls me, that's not good. But yeah, did you do any more research on this, or
The only other thing I've got to say about this one is he played 327 league. This is all the stats I have got are league stats, by the way.
Okay,
If
that's
anyone
fine.
wants to, just to pull me up on something, but yeah, completely transparent here to everyone who may be watching. I don't believe I have seen the guy play, but I'm willing to, if he's appeared on the list from someone who has more knowledge than myself. Do you know what? I'll definitely yield my position on this one.
Okay. Should we go Champions League spot or?
Difficult, isn't it? Very difficult.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll go Champions League spot as it's. I know it's difficult, as I guess, for us to say
Hmm.
into the invincible territory without
Yeah.
actually seeing him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But absolutely no
Hmm.
disrespect to a guy that clearly played a long time for us, and he's
Hmm.
let's say if you're going along the great Welsh goalkeepers, like they're well known for. Neville Southall comes to my mind as well
Hmm.
from my generation. When I
Everton player,
started
wasn't he?
watching, absolutely
Hmm.
fantastic goalkeeper.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm quite happy to go there. That's absolutely fine with me.
Okay.
And
Now
by the way,
here's.
this is me learning something as quite an old school Arsenal fan as well. So I really enjoyed doing this one, mate. Thank you.
Absolutely. You don't. We're an educational channel as well.
Who'd have thought it?
We make people learn. Next up, I don't think we have to do much research on this person because he currently plays for us. It's Mr. Rambo himself, Aaron Ramsdale. Of course, signed for us last season from Bournemouth. When we kind of needed a bit of a depth in our goalkeepers because Leno wasn't exactly performing well at the start of last season against the likes of Brentford and Man City. And I believe it was against Norwich, Arteta actually gave him the chance to be our first team goalkeeper. And well, the rest is history, as we say. He's now between the posts.
Yeah.
Potentially the goalkeeper that can, fingers crossed, make us win the league. I mean, I can sing his praises a lot, really. What do you make of Mr. Ramsdale?
Okay, mate. Yeah, apologies. I just had a little technical issue, but
Okay.
I am back. So Ramsdale, I was a massive advocate of Ramsdale coming into the before he signed for Arsenal. I know a lot of Arsenal fans were a little bit sceptical because the guy here, yeah, he had a
He
record
got
of
relegated.
relegations, yeah, but certainly in that Sheffield United side that went down before he joined us, he was one of the busiest goalkeepers that were in the league. The amount of shot stopping that he did was right up there in terms of stats and everything. His distribution for the ball, despite it might give you heart palpitations, is absolutely excellent. And basically, I have this to say about Ramsdale: what a lad! Because
Yeah, absolutely.
he goes along with all the banter and
Mm.
all the jeers that come along with the territory, He's
Mm.
been so good for us. Um,
Mm.
and because the guy's only very young as well, I think he's going to be in goal for a long time with us.
Mm.
So the difficulty is midway
Yeah.
through this season, where Posh do we put him
I
here?
obviously he has the potential in
Mm,
in years to come to go into the Invincibles category. He's got the
mm,
potential to do it, but has he reached that? I don't know. I think I
mm.
would put him at right of the top of the Champions League spot. He goes
Yeah,
next to Chesney.
you know what? That's probably fair. That's probably fair in terms of Ramsdale. At time of recording here, has played 53 times for Arsenal. Um,
Mm.
before it's and I don't want us to get super excited about where things are at the moment and everything.
Yeah, this is at time of recording, which is
Absolutely,
January
absolutely,
25th, 2023.
absolutely. Um, Arsenal are looking good, and the fact that
Mm.
we've gone so like halfway through basically of this season and where we are, but until the honours are picked up, I think that's probably where we should judge it. So yeah, absolutely
Mm.
top of the
He's
Champions League pile.
he's top of the Champions League, but he is definitely climbing that ladder like he's in a Money in the Bank match. You know, he's climbing up the ladder to get to the
The
briefcase
brass
representing
ring.
the Invincibles.
Yeah, you'll get there. You could get there.
Now, I mean, okay. And speaking of someone who I think will probably end up being in the Invincibles one, let's be honest, is the brilliant David Seaman with his lovely ponytail and moustache. I'd put him in the top for that ponytail and moustache alone.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you're someone who has probably seen him play for Arsenal.
Seen him play
I
live,
think we
mate.
know where we're putting him, don't we?
Absolutely, it's no question in my mind. He's one of the absolute elite in the Premier League. David is one of the nicest guys in football as well, don't you know?
Mm.
I'll come back to a little personal story, which I kind of remember still quite very close to, even to this day, many years gone by. But
Mm.
Dave was the goalkeeper when I started watching Arsenal. So that we're talking 1990s. 1990 to
Mm.
2003. What a presence he was in goal. All the way through his career. His honours are absolutely incredible. Like, so I can give you 405 appearances for Arsenal, 3 league titles over 2 decades, 1991, 1998, 2002. I can give you 4 FA Cups. I can give you a League Cup. It can give you a European Cup Winners' Cup. That I just mentioned when we were talking about Alan Miller. That
Mm.
performance Dave Seaman and actually the whole side put out against Parma and Copenhagen was just one of the most heroic Arsenal performances I can recall in my living memory. And Dave, as I said, had broken ribs at the time, but poor guy could probably barely breathe, but he was just phenomenal. Let me give you
Mm.
a little personal story that I don't think a lot of people will know about. So this is
Okay.
other than my dear brother, bless him, all the way in Australia. So Nick, this one's for you, mate. I recall Arsenal playing Newcastle in the Premier League one day, and my brother's best friend, who from school, his dad happened to work for a motor company that Dave Seaman actually bought a car from. So,
Okay.
so what had happened there is that as a little bit of a thank you for sorting him out a decent motor and stuff, he goes, "Here you go. Here's some free tickets to Highbury." So,
Oh, what a man.
so off my brother went with his best mate
Mm.
and their family off to watch Newcastle versus Arsenal at Highbury. This was the match. You can actually pinpoint it. It's where the Scottish centre half Scott Marshall. That's probably a name you won't know, mate.
Okay.
He scored his one and only goal for Arsenal. He's the son of Gordon Marshall, the goalkeeper. That's who that is.
Gordon Marshall, the Cardiff,
Celtic.
well, Celtic. He played for.
Celtic.
Was he the one that played for Cardiff as well?
I don't recall him playing for Cardiff, possibly.
I might be
He
thinking of
might
a
have done.
different Marshall.
Anyway, so while he was at the game, I was sitting at home listening to Radio 5 Live. But but I remember this story, and they had an absolute blast, and they met some of the players after the match at the Players' Lounge. I remember my brother saying that he'd met Lee Dixon and Merce, and a few others. So yeah, it was a nice thing for Davo to do, and as all the way through his career as well, he kept his standards right up there. Do you remember what he's termed as his greatest ever save?
What was it? You have to remind me.
So FA Cup semi-final, I believe it was, against Sheffield United, Paul Pesky-Solido.
Yes.
Where he managed to somehow get his hands on a point-blank header. Literally, it was almost right in front of him. I don't even know how he clawed it out, especially at the later stages of his Arsenal career. Is just mind-blowing. The absolute goat as far as I'm concerned in terms of Arsenal goalkeepers, Dave Seaman.
He was unbeatable between the posts, unless you're Ronaldinho. But that wasn't for Arsenal, though. That wasn't for Arsenal.
No. Here's the thing: you bring up that I might as well then, because it's in my head. So after the heroics of Copenhagen and the European Cup Winners' Cup, of course. So the season after that, a lot of you guys probably won't know this because obviously there's a bit of a generation gap here. But
what are you on about? You're 22.
So this would have been 95, I think. Yes, it would have been 95. So we're talking about the season where George Graham got sacked because of off-the-field antics. Sorry, my phone's moving again. Professional stream, sorry. So George had got sacked. The club were in a bit of chaos. Stuart Houston, I believe, Pat Rice, I think, would have taken charge for a bit as well. They managed, even in turmoil, to get all the way through to the final again, and they went to play Real Zaragoza. And sadly, as we were heading towards a penalty shootout at the end of extra time, a former Spurs man in Naeem lobbed him from about 45 yards, and it was painful to watch, and it was sad to see. But Dave managed to recover himself, and he excelled himself after that. It'll be a shame for me not to mention the year after that, actually, just for England purposes, and then I'll move on. And it was the Euro '96 tournament where he was phenomenal, and particularly the save from the penalty against Gary McAllister. Then obviously we led to the Paul Gascoigne scoring the little flick over Colin Hendry for the second goal. So there you
are. Okay, we spent a lot of time on that, but again, he's one of the greatest keepers, if not the greatest keeper we ever had. So I don't blame you there. Here is an interesting one. Matt Turner. Now he has only played a few games for us, but I had to include him in there because he's a current backup goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's been all right, but I probably, in terms of the people who we've already got in Champions League spot, I probably wouldn't go. I'd probably go as high as mid-table. I think. Do you want anything to say on Matt Turner?
Yeah, Matt Turner has not played a league game for Arsenal yet. He only joined. Am I right in saying he joined in the summer?
He joined this season. Yeah.
But I think the only goals he may have conceded were in the Europa League. Potentially, no, that might not be quite right. But in the Europa League, I think he's conceded one penalty, and then he might have conceded the cut. He might have. I don't know if he played against Brighton or not in the League Cup, but in terms of so he's done a decent job as a
as a backup
Yeah.
goalkeeper until he, plays a bit more Premier League. I can't really go any further than that. He was great for the States when we saw him in the World Cup. He had a brilliant tournament there. So, but
He got his name out there, didn't he?
He certainly did. He certainly did. So
I'd probably put him mid-table, maybe. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. He's done nothing to suggest going any lower than that.
Yeah.
Switch over the definitely.
Yeah. Okay, now next up is Petr Cech. Now, Petr Cech, as we know, is mainly known for playing for Chelsea for all those years, but he signed for us, I think, the twilight of his career, I'd say, in 2015, when it was a bit odd because we were knowing him in a Chelsea shirt all these years, and now he's playing for the Arsenal.
Yeah.
And he played for us for quite a few seasons, and especially his first season, in his first few games, the opening game against West Ham aside, he was very good.
Yeah,
as we expect from him.
One of the Premier League elite goalkeepers of all time, I would suggest. Yeah, but you quite rightly said, we got him on the autumn winter of his footballing career. Of course, he's playing down the road for me here in Chelmsford, playing ice hockey now for the old Chelmsford Chieftains. So go on, son. But and for a guy who had that massive head injury, as you'll probably remember up at Chelsea,
yes,
extraordinary stuff. For I believe he played 110 games for Arsenal. His last game was the Europa League final.
Yes. Yes, the Emery years. But yeah. I think that aside, I think he's done all right.
Sorry, Posh. Sorry, Posh. You kicked me out again. I'm sorry, mate.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, hey, Europa League final, eh? You remember that? That's what I thought the silence was about.
Yeah, but
with the unfortunate result.
Of course.
Now, if we judged him on his entire career as a keeper, he would go into the Invincibles category, no question about it. In terms of what he's done for Arsenal, I think he might be, again, top of Champions League spot. What would you say?
Yeah.
Would you be more generous, or is that fair?
I think that's about fair. Cool. This is good, isn't it? We're agreeing on everything. This can't be right.
I know.
But do you know what? It's probably right. Like I say, we didn't see him at his pomp, but he was always, as old school goalkeepers go. And what I mean by that, he was always good with his hands. I won't say it. If you compare him to Ramsdale, we had a little bit ago, who is much more competent with the ball at his feet. Say, for me, definitely he'll be in the Champions League tier for us. Third most clean sheets of amongst all goalkeepers since the year 2000. There's a stat for you.
Okay. And I'd maybe put him in between Ramsdale and Chesney, or would he go over here? Would he go next to Ramsdale on the near? I mean, it shouldn't really matter, but
do you know one might put him? I'm arguing myself. So if I'm going to go with what I've said previously, he'd probably go in the top of that Champions League because of honours and stuff and time he'd played at the club as well. Did Cech pick up honours for Arsenal? Did he pick up any winners?
He won the FA Cup in 2017.
That's right. I know. So yeah, that probably would justify that place in the top, I reckon. Yeah, I think that's probably right.
Now, here is where we get into the maybe perhaps getting into the murkier territories. Mr. Manuel Almunia. Now, he signed for us in 2005. I know that he, as Jens Lehmann, who we'll get to in a sec, was he got sent off in the Champions League final, and Almunia went in goal. And I know that, and obviously the result was very unfortunate against Barcelona.
Mm.
He then, in around 2000, when Lehmann left, in around 2008 to 2011, he was pretty much our first choice goalkeeper, and it's fair to say he didn't exactly set the world on fire, didn't he, Lee?
He wasn't my favourite, I must say. Almunia started his career over in Spain. He was in the lower echelon of La Liga, I believe. He might not even been the top tier of the Spanish league. But he came over to us. He spent a long time, funny enough, with us. You know, I've got on my bit of paper 04 to 2012.
Okay.
I didn't write down all his appearances, unfortunately, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it's probably because they weren't that memorable, in fairness.
Yeah.
And I don't think he had the most glorified. I mean, you brought up the Champions League final, which, I mean, goodness me, what a game to come into after Jens's heroics, which we'll come into in a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got beat on his near post. It never really happened for Almunia. He went on to have a better time over at Watford. I will say that.
Yes, he played a very memorable game for Watford, that playoff game when Troy Deeney scored
Leicester
in the very, very last kick of the game, just after he saved a penalty. But this is his Arsenal career. I know that we like to be nice people on this channel, but would we put Almunia in the bit naff category, or are we going to be more
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, a bit naff in it.
He's a bit naff goalkeeper.
Sorry, Manuel.
It's all right.
I hope he's in good health, because I know he had to retire because of injuries. I know he had a health scare more serious than that as well. And we wish him no ill will here, of course.
Of course.
And
this is not judging them as people. We're judging them as how they played in goal for us. Nothing against them personally, obviously.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, sorry, Manuel. You never filled me with confidence, unfortunately. So
no
apologies.
We're going to move on to someone who I think did fill a lot of Arsenal fans with confidence. It's Pat Jennings. Now,
okay.
When was he was around the 80s, wasn't he, or 70s?
Pat Jennings. Where have I written down Jennings? I don't know if I've written down Jennings' name. I failed to do that one. I am sorry. But Pat Jennings, I can give you off the top of my head, is one brave goalkeeper. I think you're right in saying 60s to 70s.
Okay. Yeah. And 70s are right, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jennings was one of the very few to cross the line in North London. If I'm right in saying he played for Tottenham before he played for Arsenal.
He's the Sol Campbell of his generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was a real good goalkeeper. Absolutely world class. Northern Irish international, I want to say. I don't want to get in Stephen Best's bad books from Cannon Chatter. I think I'm right in saying that. Am I?
He was in a country with Ireland in its name.
There you go. So
I think it might have been Republic of Ireland. I don't know.
I will stand corrected then, peoples. I'll stand corrected. Look, it's been a long day, right? But yeah, he was. Again, you could. As it was before my generation as such. I do have a bit of a memory. I have a memory of him scoring from a goal kick as well for Tottenham. I can't remember who it was against, but it was just it's similar to the Paul Robinson effort.
So he's one of two goalkeepers, I believe, on this list to actually score a goal.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
Wasn't for us though, but
No, but
where are we gonna put him though?
Oh goodness! This is tough for me. This is a tough one.
It's between Champions League spot and the Invincibles, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what? Just for the the sheer guts and courage to come over to the Arsenal from Spurs. Let's just stick him up there with Dave, shall we?
Yeah, and he had quite a prolific career as well at Arsenal. Let's not forget, and he is regarded as one of their greatest goalkeepers. Sometimes,
yeah, absolutely, quite rightly so as well. Very calming influence. Very calming influence behind the defenders. So yeah, that's good for me.
Okay, now this is from 100 to 0 almost. We've got Richard Wright, who was one of Arsenal's backup goalkeepers. And in terms of, in terms of winning trophies, it's actually quite a decent career because he's won a couple with Man City, hasn't he? Even though he played a total of 0 minutes in goal for them.
I think he's still up there as well. I think he's still goalkeeper coach.
He's a coach, yeah. Okay. Now
right.
I've got my notes here. If you
go for it, mate.
If you will. So he was a backup goalkeeper in the early 2000s. He was kind of built up to be a long-term successor to David Seaman, and obviously we know how that turned out. When given the first team opportunity when Seaman was injured, he ended up, I think, dropping a bit of a clanger. He punched the ball into his own net in a 4-2 loss to Charlton.
I remember
it
really well.
He was also substituted at half-time with an injury in a Champions League game. I did my research. But
is this to Stuart Taylor?
Yeah, we'll get to Stuart. I think Stuart Taylor's next, actually. We'll get to him in a minute.
You're next.
You're next, Stuart. It wasn't the first time he was substituted in a game. In the last game of the 2002 season, I think, maybe, against Everton,
I haven't even got that written down.
Substituted him. You're very knowledgeable.
He could get his 10 appearances so he could pick up the league medal, right?
Yes, and although Arsene Wenger, he didn't have many nice words to say about him during his last appearance. You might know about Mr. Wright more than I do. What did you make of him when he made those appearances when Seaman was injured? Did it fill you with confidence, or?
So I'll go back to the wrestling analogies, if you will. If they will. He came in with the Brock Lesnar next big thing tag, right? He had a real solid start over Ipswich Town, just a little bit north from me over here. And he came with a massive reputation and a fair sized transfer fee as well. I believe he made in total, I think that's 12 appearances for Arsenal was in the league.
I think it was Stuart Taylor who made 10 appearances. I think. Richard Wright, I think, made a bit more. I reckon.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Seaman got injured in that season, and that's how they featured.
Yeah, but my goodness me, it was an absolute car crash for Richard and his whole career. I'm afraid. It didn't go well at all. You mentioned that game against Charlton. That was just a low point, I think, in his career, and a low point at that Arsenal's team's point of view, I think. He only sort of stayed at Arsenal throughout the season, went back to Ipswich. I think he had another 60-odd games for them, but then that was his career pretty much done. I know he had a few odd spells here and there. He might have even had another brief cup of coffee up at Portman Road, but I don't think they had anything of substance.
He went to Everton, I think, after he went to Arsenal. I think, if my research is right.
Yeah. So I think he had about 60-odd games for Everton. Went back because again he had a bit of a tough time. This is a bit of a sad one, to be honest, because you had someone who came in with such high hopes and promise.
Yeah,
and it just didn't. I'm afraid it just didn't go for him, and I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, but I think this might be one.
Are we Squillaci territory or are we
We're
Naff territory?
Scalacci in it, I think.
Oh boy! Well, there
I'm
we go.
sorry.
Richard Wright. I'm sure he's a lovely man, but I don't
Yeah.
know, a particularly lovely goalkeeper though. From how you're referencing.
No, he had a rough old time.
I
Bless
mean,
him.
you mentioned he was like the next big thing. If there was a wrestler who had the fantastic potential but turned out to be a bag of cack, what was
Sean Stasiak.
Sean Stasiak. There we go.
Meat.
He's the Sean Stasiak of football. But there we are.
Sorry if you don't get our wrestling references here. Can't help it.
Yeah. Well,
I blame Pachini.
Sean Stasiak teamed up with Brock Lesnar that one time. Richard Wright won the league with Arsenal and won many stuff with Man City whilst playing no appearances for
Absolutely
them.
naff
So,
all. Yeah, so well played.
not all bad news. Moving on to a goalkeeper who we mentioned when talking about Wright, and that's Stuart Taylor. Again, so my research was he debuted in a 3-1 win against Man United. Was this the same season as the Richard Wright era, or was that? Oh, has he gone?
Oh, hello, I'm back.
Oh, here he is. Okay.
Sorry.
So as I was saying,
television. I know this is good television, but I've been kicked out twice already.
oh
This is
my
my own
word, I'm not doing
bloody
anything.
channel.
I think Richard Keys is at it again. I reckon.
Sabotage.
I know we're under siege. But Stuart Taylor, he debuted in a 3-1 win against Man United, and he went on to make again. He was the one that went to make 10 appearances.
Yeah,
in
did.
2001 and 2 season. He was the one that came on against Everton, replacing Richard Wright. Another potential successor to David Seaman, but Manuel Almunia, who we've mentioned, and Alex Maniger.
Maniger, yeah.
On Lemon as well, and he managed to hold his nerve against Maniger, who was also a backup keeper, and we'll get to him in a minute. What do you make of Stuart Taylor then?
Taylor's a very difficult one to judge because his lack of matches, really. I think, I've got 8 league appearances written down for me. I think he may have made a couple more in the
couple of cup appearances, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But he was at the club a long time, 97 to 05, but didn't pull up any trees, I don't think, really. I don't recall anything particularly bad on Taylor, but so again, a very difficult one to judge with so few appearances. I know England
I put him in there because I thought you would know a bit about these. I
remember him.
Witnessed them live, and
I think I'm right in saying he was in that Invincible squad, right?
He was, yeah. And again, him and Richard Wright were in the title-winning squad in 02.
Yeah.
But Taylor, he was another player that went to Man City and played no appearances and started winning everything. So him and Richard Wright were like, right, we know what to do now with our career.
We'll just sit on this bench. It's rather nice, and the catering.
Yeah, keep it warm. But what do you think? Where should he go? He
My gut feeling is a bit naff, I think.
Okay.
And that's what I've got to go with. Sorry, Stu.
Yeah, well, I don't, I was a bit too young to witness him. Sorry to give you an existential crisis, but I was a bit too young to witness him.
I know. Bring it up again, mate.
But I'll take your word for it. So we're going through a bit of a backup goalkeeper arc here, aren't we?
Definitely.
Up next is David Ospina, who signed for Arsenal after impressing in the World Cup with Colombia in 2014. He signed for us to be a backup to Chesney, and I mainly remember him for being in goal during the 10-2 defeat to Bayern Munich. And I was so angry, thinking, why isn't Czech starting that game?
The aggregate. Yeah, the
I know
average
he's
score,
a cup playing goalkeeper, but come on, Wenger, start check for that game. We
Yeah.
probably would have lost, I don't know, but it wouldn't have been 10-2. Oh, I don't know.
Right.
Again, another tough one.
Espina's had a bit more game time for him, didn't he? I've got 29 appearances here. I think he was like you say, he was a cup keeper. He's got a couple of honours with him as well. 2015 and 2017, I believe. So I'm probably going to middle it with a Spina, I reckon. Bit
You're going to mid-table him?
Yeah, I would probably put him ahead of the last couple that we mentioned. So yeah, I think so.
All right.
And of course, we know who Espina's new teammate is, don't we? You know who this is?
Hang on.
CR number 7.
Oh,
he's
okay.
in the
So he
same
plays
side.
for the Saudi Arabian club now.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Because I know he played for Napoli for quite a bit, and
yes, you did.
okay. I would put him above Alan Miller and Matt Turner. What do you think?
Yes, because of course the game time.
Yeah, I'd go with that. Right, here we go. Main event time. This is what I think a couple of people here have been waiting for. Lucas Fabianski, or Flappy Handski, as some people like to call him. Now, again, backup keeper for both Almunia, Chesney, and the likes. Now, to be fair on him, he's played a lot more games compared to the likes of Ospina and Richard Wright, Stuart Taylor, etc.
Yeah.
He played in the FA Cup final against Hull, which I disagree with. I thought Chesney would have played there. But again, Wenger liked
his rotation, didn't he?
He liked to pick his backup goalkeepers for cup competitions, come hell or high water, didn't he?
He certainly did.
I also remember him, and this was one of the very first more impressive references I made when I made my Arsenal chat-along debut back in the Cannon Chatter days.
Yeah.
I made this reference. It was the game against Porto in the Champions League match in 2009. He picked the ball up when the goalkeepers weren't meant to, thus giving away a free kick to the opposition.
Yeah.
Radamel Falcao, when he played for Porto at the time, slotted it in the back of the net. That made me seethe at Fabianski at the time.
Remember Falcao had a little spell at Man United as well for slightly younger people that might be watching. But
yes.
he absolutely had a bit of a absent-minded thing on the rules there, I think, Fabianski. So
now he had. Oh, go on.
32 appearances for Arsenal. I think his best time in Premier League is actually where he is right now over at West Ham. Not saying that's gone without a hitch. So, spoiler alert, everybody. This whole video that's gone up, this is all sort of stemmed from me doing that little YouTube short when Posh, in my absence, was describing the Arsenal West Ham game and criticising Fabianski's performance this season after they've been beaten at the near post. Correct?
He has been a bit of a figure of fun for us a couple of times, hasn't he?
Yes.
But in terms of witnessing him play, are we being a bit too cheeky, or
what do you think? A little bit. I have another little story with Fabianski, where it was a League Cup tie. I do not remember. I think it was a lower league side. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I certainly remember Fabianski was in goal. We went on to win this match 2-0. And that's exactly the bet I put on. I don't normally put bets on, but I did for some reason this day. And he went on and made me a couple of quid on that day. So good on. I'm gonna think for Fabianski, I'm gonna stick him in the middle, I think.
Okay.
That's generous of me, I know, perhaps, but
that's fair. I think he wasn't Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. Up next is Bernd Leno. Now this is going to be a bit of a tough one here. Now he became our first choice goalkeeper when Mr. Goodebening Emery took over, replacing Wenger. He signed him, and I had a lot of high hopes for Leno. I thought he was a very good goalkeeper for Bayer Leverkusen, and I was very pleased when we signed him. I thought we had ourselves a very good keeper here. And to be fair, he was quite good. He had his good moments. But as he got to the latter stages, he just didn't. It wasn't particularly that world class, put it that way.
Yeah.
And of course, he got injured against Brighton when Neil Maupay, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, who could forget that game? And that
was a bad time.
That was the match that made Argentina win the World Cup.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Because a goalkeeper who we're going to mention in a minute got his big break in that game. But Bernd Leno, what do you think of him?
Bernd Leno, I think, solid old school goalkeeper. I think for Bert Bernard is. Oh, this is another really tough one. Over 100 appearances for Arsenal. He's doing pretty well for Fulham as well at the moment. I said, because of course, the way Arsenal playing with the ball playing out from the back, as much as we're not fans, particularly me, it makes me go old and grey very quickly. But that's the way they play at the moment, right? That's the modern game, right? Again, similar to Czech, I think it didn't really suit Leno, but as an experienced goalkeeper, for most of the time, I thought he was pretty darn good. But in terms of the longevity of how, the here's another one for you, the evolution of the club, I think it was probably the right thing for Ramsdale to come in to take his spot. It was good for Leno, who's still got plenty of time left in the tank for him to certainly for the likes of Fulham or whatever he decides to do. Again, I think he's a smashing goalkeeper, not so great with his feet.
Should we go Champions League spot then?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, all right. Okay. Were you suggesting mid-table or?
I was kind of thinking, do I go mid-table, top of?
I'm thinking of putting him in between Chesney and Jackie Kelsers. What do you think?
I'll settle for that. Okay.
I'm being quite generous there.
Yeah.
But you know, in his first season, when we went on that Undertaker-style 21-0 winning streak, unbeaten streak, Leno did quite well, and I think he had his moments. I think, but we'll again we can come back to it at the end.
Yeah.
Next up is, I think, someone a bit definitely before my time, and I think maybe a bit before your time, in John Lukic. Now,
Luko, I know a bit of. Yeah, okay. I know a bit.
Well, I know that he was a Leeds goalkeeper afterwards, wasn't he? Was he the goalkeeper when they won the first division?
Yes, Lukic had won league titles at both Leeds and Arsenal. I believe he started his career at Leeds. Then he joined Arsenal in 1983. He played 223 appearances in the league in this period. But then he lost his place, went back to Leeds for a little bit. I have a distinct memory of Ian Wright lobbing him. You might have seen it in compilations go by.
Okay.
This is, I can't remember exactly time period there, but it might have been the European Cup Winners' Cup season, but it doesn't matter. He did return to Arsenal. I have the summer. Summer of 1996. This was. So we had all the hype of Euro 96 and how well England were doing.
It's coming home, etc.
It's coming home. It's coming home. all through that summer, Arsenal were literally radio silent. Nothing was going on. Bruce Rioch
That's very familiar.
was the Arsenal manager then.
Yep.
And I joked with my brother because he said, "Oh, they wanted to sign John Lukic. That's the reason he got the sack." Obviously, in jest, Lukic came over for us as a bit of cover. He did play another 18 or so games for Arsenal, I believe. The last of which might have been on his 40th birthday. But one of them with really strong longevity. Look, I mean, nearly 250 games for Arsenal, league titles. I got to put Luco in the in that elite group of. Do you know what? I'm going to put him up there with.
We're going to put him with Stephen and Patty Jennings.
I think I might. You know,
Let's do it then.
I've surprised myself a little bit. I remember George Graham and selling Luco back to Leeds, saying, I do think that Luco's still a great goalkeeper, but I think David Seaman's better. That is an absolute quote. I do remember that. But like, you know, he definitely he had the longevity. He had the titles. You know, I think he's still in some role, like got part-time coaching somewhere. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. Good,
all right. Well, there we are.
Really good
next
goalkeeper.
up. Yeah. Okay. Next up, if your name is Matt Roberts, you might want to look away now because we have got Emi Martinez. Now,
controversial figure.
Yes, he was at Arsenal for quite a few years. I think he had his debut in the very much iconic 7-5 win against Reading in the Carabao Cup. I remember it vividly, and he didn't feature that much until the pandemic era of the Premier League in 2020. Of course, we mentioned Leno got injured against Brighton. Emi Martinez came on. He starred in the FA Cup semi-final and the final against both Man City and Chelsea, respectively. And he then went to Aston Villa, which I kind of disagreed on because I thought he would have been quite a decent backup at the time. And I was like, I've been proven right, you know, when he saved Ronaldo's penalty when he was at Aston Villa against Man United that one time. I don't know. And of course, again, this isn't Arsenal, but when he was with Argentina in the World Cup, very good keeper. He was the star of the show in 2 penalty shootouts. And
Bruce Grobbelaar like antics.
Yeah, again, less said about him with his passionate engagements with the Golden Glove, the better. But I think if it wasn't for that Arsenal game against Brighton, he wouldn't have been in that position in the Argentina goal.
Yeah.
What say you, Emi Martinez? Where do you stand on him?
So, a guy who was at the club so long and waited so long for a chance to start playing some first team games. He had so many loan spells out, but when called upon in the pandemic era after the incident at Brighton, he impressed everybody. You know, he only had. I've got 15 appearances on ME, but he's and it's like, okay, so he's established himself now, but he couldn't the guarantee, I think, of ME, and you can understand this. You know, he's full on in Argentinian international. You know, he wanted to play games, he couldn't guarantee it. So after he won am I right? I'm right in saying he played that game against Liverpool in the charity. Sorry, it's called Community Shield now.
Community Shield, yeah.
But then he left about a week later, so it left us with Burt and Ramsdale, right? And
This was the 2020 21 season, I
Yeah,
think.
that's right.
It was, I think Ramsdale signed the season after.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, he's a divisive figure. I'm finding this one really hard to rank. Really hard to rank because in the 15 games in the league, he did pretty good. You'd argue he didn't do an awful lot wrong to be dropped, but then the howler he had prior that 7-5 game, by the way, if you are too young to see it, it's still on the Sky Sports Retro YouTube channel. Look that up. It's just one of the most extraordinary games you'll ever see. I, strangely enough, even at 4-0 down, I think it was, I still felt relatively confident we'd win the tie. But then again, I'm just notoriously optimistic. but crumbs, where
I think I went to bed after it was 4-0. I think.
I'm just a glutton for punishment, mate.
Day.
Score the next day. Thanks again. Yeah.
I was in year 7 at the time, I think. So there you go. I would put him at the top of mid-table.
Okay.
What say you?
Because
he didn't have all that much time, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Mid-table. Yeah. Okay. That's. And he's still playing regularly for Villa. He, despite his antics, he impressed everybody in the World Cup. So fair. But in terms of an Arsenal list,
in terms of an Arsenal list, I think around that. But I think if we judged him on his entire career at the moment, I'd put him around the Champions League spot territory because I think he's done quite good as a goalkeeper. I think in his entire career.
Absolutely, reserve come good, and he's picking up the honours as he quite rightly deserved. And even when we picked up the FA Cup for Arsenal, you saw how much it meant to him. It's important for him to how humble a guy he was when he given the opportunity to play for Arsenal, and you could see what it meant to him. So
yeah,
cool.
Up next is Alex Maniger. We're back to backup keeper territory now.
Maniger, okay.
He was a backup keeper, late 90s, early 2000s kind of time, I believe.
1997 to 02, yeah.
When
very young Austrian goalkeeper. Played an awful lot for Dave Seaman, who had a bit of an injury hit time then.
Played for Liverpool. No, he didn't. I don't think he played for them, but he signed for Liverpool in 2017, I think.
Yeah, relatively recently. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Goodness me, that was a shock. That was felt like I was on Doctor Who going back in the TARDIS.
I know, blast from the past. But again, this is very much your era. When you saw Maniger in goal, what did you make of him?
A young goalkeeper, had an enormous amount of potential. But like a lot of people, Dave Seaman managed to see him off, I believe. But when he did play for us, he was absolutely integral to. I'm thinking of a game at Old Trafford he would have played in, I think. And he was just had a huge presence for him. He never let us down. I don't recall him dropping any clangers, anything really bad, not at all. I'm not sure what happened to his career after he left Arsenal, to be honest. It's one of them that kind of gone off my radar a little bit.
I'm doing a bit of live research. Well, it's not live. It's at time of recording research.
Yeah.
He went on loan to Fiorentina in 2001 and 2, and then he pretty much did the tour of Spain and Austria kind of territories. He went to a lot of clubs. Torino in Italy, only played 3 games. Salzburg in Austria. It looks like he was a backup keeper for Buffon at Juventus in 2008 and 12, playing 27 times. Then
Right.
went to Augsburg in Germany in the, again, twilight of his career. And then he unexpectedly went to Liverpool but didn't play a game. And I think he's retired since then.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I would think that
he was a bit of a
sounds about right.
journeyman after he left Arsenal.
Yeah,
Didn't live up to his
but
potential.
no, he didn't. But again, had a crucial part in a league title winning season.
Mm.
So does he go mid table? Does he go mid table?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Where would we put him around that time, though? Should we just like put him in the middle of mid-table, or
Yeah, middle of mid table, I think. Again, he was reliable when he came in.
I think yeah, we'll go there. I think.
He looks like such a baby in that picture as well, doesn't he?
I know. Even I
So,
thought that. I mean, yeah.
yeah. But
Mm.
he was he had a bit of a presence about him.
Mm.
I want to give him plenty of credit. He did a decent job. He did a really decent job for us.
Mm.
So,
Next up, we're going to go way back. We're going way back in time. This person, I don't think, is related to professional wrestler Madcap or Riddick Moss. It's as far as
you're
I'm
worse than
concerned,
me, you are.
it's Frank Moss, who again played in again. It's a black and white photo. Was it around the 50s, 40s, that kind of thing?
Frank
Or...
Moss. Right, I've got. He signed for Arsenal, and this is again before my time, ladies and gentlemen. This was in the November of 1931.
Ooh.
From Oldham Athletic. Hey, would you just as a bit of fun, have a guess at his transfer fee?
£0 and 0 shillings.
£3,000.
That is tuppence in today's money.
Absolutely. But he won a first division title. The only other thing I've really got on him, and I found this quite fascinating, is
I got this as well.
So obviously substitution rules have very much changed throughout the ages. Obviously, where we are now, Premier League, you're looking at 5 substitutions in like 3 banks of whatever you want to call it, right? Or stages of play, right? So they were a gutsy lot back in today, and so Frank Mosh's career unfortunately was cut a little bit short because of a bad shoulder. But instead of leaving the field on this fated occasion, I do not have the opponents written down.
Everton.
And obviously, it was Everton. Thank you, Posh.
I was there. I'm a time traveller.
Oh, excellent. Good. So the guy goes and plays left wing. They go and switch the goalkeeper, and he only goes and scores for playing on the wing, doesn't he?
On the wing, yeah.
Absolutely incredible scenes there, but I don't think he played an awful lot more for Arsenal after that because of the injury being so bad. But yeah, again, I've literally only learned about this in the last sort of 24 hours or so. So, you know, as you will.
Where will we put him? Should we put him in the mid-table position?
That's fair because I have nothing more to add on this one, mate. So,
Okay.
Sorry for anybody who is from that era.
I think out of respect to his abilities, I think I'll put him probably around here.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Now, again, someone who I think we know where we're going to put him. It's the man who was part of the Invincibles squad, Mr. Jens Lehmann. Maybe not.
Big Jens. I got. He was a character and a half. Big shoes to fill. You know, so he come in in enviable position. I can nearly get the words out. You know, of trying to replace Dave Seaman as many people would have tried to beforehand.
But as this tier list suggests, they didn't live up to it.
It was a hard job, but
Mm.
Jens, he was brilliant. And we'll get into. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a hiccup along the way, but you know,
Yeah.
and here's a little bit of a hint. He was an invincible winner. Played every single match in the invincible winning side. He also holds a Champions League record of clean sheets in 8 full matches, and also a record of continuous minutes of clean sheets. I believe that was from, let me just get this right, 853 minutes he kept a clean sheet for in that run. Now, of course, this run in the Champions League also included saving a penalty in the semi-final. I'm just going to get the name. It was Roman Riquelme, wasn't it?
Okay.
In the 89th minute to get us all the way up to the final in France. It's just a bit of a shame.
I know. And then the final happened, and it's unfortunate, really, isn't it?
So anyone who doesn't know, I will just cover it really briefly. 18 minutes gone on the clock.
Yeah.
Against Barcelona, professional foul on Samuel Eto'o, and unfortunately, I think, if my memory is right, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't this the end of Robert Pires's Arsenal career as well at this stage? Because I think Pires got substituted for Almunia, so we had the goalkeeper in place. And unfortunately, the game, although Sol Campbell scored a memorable header to put us ahead in the final, it all went belly up right at the end. And
down to 10 men as well. We were 1-0 up, and
we were so heroic. The guys did a brilliant job over there, but unfortunately, the numeric disadvantage really started to show in the closing stages, and the inevitable happened, I guess. But not to take away from anything that Jens did. Again, he was a great commanding presence. Yeah, he might have had a little shaky wobble in here or there, but Jens was a character. Even in winning the league title up at White Hart Lane, which a lot of us like singing about. He had a bit of a crazy moment where who did he knock over? Because I believe the foul was given against Lehman and was it Redknapp? No, it was Keane. It was Keane who scored the penalty, wasn't it? Robbie Keane. Yeah, and poor Jens was absolutely distraught. He had to be brought back onto the field to celebrate. But the eccentric German goalkeeper, he was fantastic. I loved him. So,
considering he was the goalkeeper during the Invincibles, and we have a part of our tier list is called the Invincibles, it would be a bit odd if we did not put him in that category.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would put him. Anywhere, any specific where he could go, or?
No, so in my eyes, and I have such a lot of love for Dave Seaman, but I think Jens has got to go just to David's, as we see it, to David's right, so in second position. Just there, perfect.
Yeah. And last but not least, I've got to mention about Jens Lehmann. He actually played one game against Blackpool in 2011.
He did, bizarrely, just for the ha-has.
I know. We were very much in our banter element at that time.
You're not kidding,
but last but not least, Bob Wilson, who you mentioned. I'll be honest. Let's pull back the curtain here. I forgot to put him on this list, and about 24 hours prior to this recording, and when I showed Mr. Meadows here the list of the goalkeepers, he said Bob Wilson's not there, and I thought, well, you know what? Because I have utmost respect for both Lee Meadows and Bob Wilson. I put him in the list last minute. What have you got to say on Bobby then?
Bob Wilson, if you might be a bit more familiar with him as a bit of a broadcaster as well.
Okay.
And as a goalkeeper coach, he was Dave Seaman's coach for a little bit as well. But Bob Wilson played for Arsenal from starting at 1963 through to 1974. Load of appearances here as well. We're talking 310 appearances, and part of the famous 1971 double winning squad. He was, commanding number one for the majority of that period. But for Bob's career was rather cut a little bit short. He did keep on picking up niggly little injuries, and he retired relatively young as a goalkeeper at 32 years old.
Okay.
But again, Scottish international. He was, again, it's 310 appearances. We're talking amongst the goats, I would suggest there.
We going in Invincibles category?
Absolutely, 100%.
Any specific?
You can stick him at, probably at the end of it if you like, or
At the end,
there or thereabouts. Yeah, I reckon so.
Okay.
So. And again, because of amongst this lot, we're talking about Jennings, who played well into his 40s, as did Lukic.
Okay.
Jens played well into his 38 plus. David was 40 plus. And of course, Seaman went on to play a handful of games for Man City as well. But yeah, that's probably about right for Bob. And then had a glittering career as a TV presenter, predominantly over on Grandstand. So there you are.
And that is the tier list.
Goodness me.
What do you make of it? Are there any little last minute adjustments you like to make, or are you happy with it?
Let me say. Let's go through it from the top, shall we?
Yeah.
So we're looking at Dave Seaman, Jens Lehmann, Pat Jennings, Lukic, and Bob Wilson.
Got nothing against that?
No, I think that's probably about right. So then we're looking in the Champions League positions. Peter Cech. I'm trying to make out. Is that Ramsdale? It is.
Petr Cech, Ramsdale, Szczesny, Bernd Leno, which we were a bit hesitant about, and Jack Kelsey.
Yeah, I've got no arguments there. I think. Do you know what? I think there's so good. You go through the mid-table ones.
Yeah, mid-table: Emi Martinez, David Ospina, Frank Moss, Alex Maniger, Alan Miller, Matt Turner, and Fabianski. Now, Fabianski in the NAF category, or are we going to keep him in mid-table?
Yeah, we'll put him in the NAF category. He can join the illustrious company there.
There you go. And look at that. Yeah.
Oh dear.
The NAF category: Almunia, Fabianski, and Stuart Taylor.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And Sebastian Squillaci is Mr. Richard Wright.
Sorry, Righty.
But I'm sure he's a lovely man in real life.
Absolutely.
He played for Man City and won lots of things, so he's got nothing to complain about there.
So, Posh, this is us. I think this is our very first tier list. So if anybody who follow us on our Twitter machine, hit the banner, sir, if you've got it.
Of course.
I'll keep on talking. So anyone has a suggestion for what myself and the illustrious Poshest Man in sports entertainment should cover on our next tier list, give us a suggestion on the Gooner Gathering Twitter page. You can find this man on Twitter at Posh Bertie. You can find me at Gooner Lee Meads. Together we are Gooner Gathering. And I think that is us for this evening, mate.
Of course, and I might as well, as I see them here, shout out some of our good friends who have appeared on Gooner Gathering recently. Fran, who was with us for the United chat along at Cine Sketches. She makes wonderful art. please go and check her out. And Emmy Martinez's biggest fan, Matthew Roberts at MattLR28. Again, very good man. Been on this channel a couple of times. Yeah, that's who we have there.
Don't forget Sam Wilson as well, by the way.
Sam Wilson. I don't think we have him on
I
there.
don't know
But
if I've got but
at Sam Wilson AFC, I think his Twitter handle is.
Indeed. And Fran's shop, which is a goalarzo.com. There you go.
Okay.
So I
all the
think
plugs are done now.
All the plugs are done. And that is us for today. So thank you, everybody who's been watching. And we'll see you when we see you next.